Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever looked at your smartphone or maybe heard the hype around those massive new AI accelerators and wondered how they actually get made? Well, today we are diving deep into the staggering engineering process that transforms a simple idea into a wildly complex digital system. It's a fascinating journey of turning pure imagination into physical reality, and we're going to explore exactly how the brightest minds in the world actually pull it off. To wrap our heads around this, we're going to break the whole chip lifecycle down into 6 main phases: the challenge of scale, blueprinting the architecture, coding and simulating hardware, translating logic to layout, fabrication and deployment, and lastly, specialized chips and teams. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the challenge of scale. We really need to set the stage here by looking at the sheer, mind-boggling size of the problem we're dealing with in modern digital design. When we talk about modern processors, the numbers are almost impossible to comprehend. A single high-end CPU, it packs in tens of billions of transistors. Just pause and think about that number for a second. Tens of billions. Getting to that level of complexity requires hundreds of engineers pouring years of their lives into a single project just to pull it off. Now, because no human could possibly sit down and hand-draw billions of microscopic parts, we've got to bust a major myth right out of the gate. A lot of beginners assume chips are drawn out painstakingly, transistor by transistor, but in reality, not even close. Almost all the work actually happens at much higher levels of abstraction. You absolutely need a heavily automated, tightly structured workflow just to keep this kind of complexity from spiraling totally out of control. Which brings us to Section 2, blueprinting the architecture. That highly structured workflow always kicks off at the absolute highest level. Every single successful project starts right here with Step 1, laying down strict requirements. I'm talking hard targets for performance, power limits, and cost. If you skip this, the project is basically doomed from the start. Once you've got those constraints locked in, they directly drive Step 2, the system architecture. This is where you map out exactly which major blocks you actually need to make the whole thing work. Think of it kind of like city planning. Long before anyone pours a drop of concrete, urban planners are figuring out where the highways and skyscrapers should go, right? Well, system architects do the exact same thing using block diagrams. They're figuring out how CPU cores, memory controllers, and AI engines are going to talk to each other. They are literally designing the flow of an entire digital city before a single virtual brick is laid. Moving on to Section 3, coding and simulating hardware. With our digital city all mapped out, it's time to actually write the code for this hardware. Yep, you heard me right. Hardware is coded. This is where we get into RTL, or register transfer level. At this stage, engineers use special hardware description languages like Verilog or VHDL to define exactly how data is going to bounce between registers and logic gates. Basically, they're writing code to turn those high-level architectural blueprints into real digital logic blocks. It's wild to think about, but they are describing physical hardware using software. But here's the thing, you can't just write one giant, messy file for a chip with billions of transistors. That's why modularity is an absolute game changer. By building smaller, reusable blocks, say a memory module here or a communications module there, massive engineering teams can divide and conquer. It makes the whole system way easier to maintain and lets everyone collaborate efficiently. And get this, there's a famous saying in the industry: verification consumes more effort than design. Long before any physical manufacturing begins, that RTL code gets stress-tested in simulation like you wouldn't believe. They have to validate every single logic state and edge case. Why? Because if you find a hardware bug after the chip is physically manufactured, well, that mistake could easily cost a company millions of dollars. They have to get it right the very first time. All right, on to Section 4, translating logic to layout. Once the code is bulletproof, we hit the real climax of the whole lifecycle, turning that software logic into physical reality. Now, a human simply couldn't do this translation alone. It's physically impossible. We have to rely entirely on EDA, or electronic design automation. These are insanely powerful software platforms that take that RTL code and synthesize it into actual physical hardware structures. The software is crunching billions of optimization calculations behind the scenes just to shrink the footprint and make everything run flawlessly fast. The workflow here is super fascinating. Step 1 is synthesis, which turns the code into logic gates. Next, they'll often load that design onto an FPGA, which is kind of like a blank slate programmable chip, just to catch any sneaky bugs in a real hardware environment. Once it passes that test, we jump into Step 3, the complex physical design phase, where the final layout of the transistors gets locked down. During this physical design phase, engineers are literally placing and routing billions of microscopic elements. This routing process builds the actual roads of our digital city. The EDA software has to figure out how to wire all those transistors together while juggling some incredibly strict rules about power consumption and clock timing. The data has to arrive at its exact destination in the perfect fraction of a nanosecond. It's just mind-blowing precision. Which brings us to Section 5, Fabrication and Deployment. So, our blueprint is finally synthesized and physically laid out. Now it's factory time. This all goes down inside semiconductor fabrication plants, or fabs. These places are some of the most advanced, ultra-clean environments on the entire planet. They use a continuous cycle of 5 main processes: lithography, deposition, etching, doping, and metallization. Through these steps, they craft billions of transistors onto a silicon wafer, and they're doing it with literal atomic scale precision. Let that sink in. Achieving that level of microscopic perfection is so staggeringly difficult that building just one modern fab facility can cost tens of billions of dollars. Tens of billions. You need highly specialized equipment and clean rooms that are exponentially cleaner than a hospital operating room, all because a single, invisible speck of dust could completely ruin the microscopic circuitry. Finally, Section 6, Specialized Chips and Teams. After all that manufacturing and rigorous testing, these working chips are actually deployed into the devices we use every day. Now, while this whole 10-step foundation is universal, it gets heavily tweaked depending on what you're trying to build. Take a standard CPU. It's going to prioritize pipeline architecture and branch prediction for everyday, general tasks. But if you look at modern GPUs or AI accelerators, their focus shifts entirely toward massive parallelism and matrix multiplication to handle the crazy computational demands of artificial intelligence. And pulling off any of these specialized designs takes an absolute army of collaborating experts. We're talking system architects looking at the massive big picture, all the way down to RTL engineers, verification experts, and physical design teams. It just goes to show that creating successful digital hardware is the ultimate multidisciplinary team sport. It is so much more than just typing out some code. So now that we've journeyed through this explainer together, you can see exactly how a simple idea on a whiteboard systematically morphs into the tangible hardware that literally powers our world. But it leaves us with a pretty incredible question to think about. Knowing the brutal constraints of power, space, and cost, how much further can these brilliant teams actually push the boundaries of physics? The blueprint is constantly evolving, and the next generation of our invisible digital cities is being mapped out as we speak. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next one.